The untold story of the Silk Road. Imagine a path, not made of stone or dirt, but of whispers and dreams, stretching across giant lands. This isn't just a road, it's a beating heart, a secret highway where brave souls carried treasures and tales. Get ready to discover the true story of the Silk Road, a journey so wild, so full of danger and wonder, it will change how you see the world forever. Our story begins a very long time ago, far in the east, in a land of high mountains and deep valleys. The sun was just peeking over the sharp peaks, painting the sky with colors of fire and gold. In a small village nestled among olive trees, lived a young boy named Kale. He was small for his age, with eyes that sparkled like fresh water and a spirit as big as the sky. Kale loved to listen to the old men tell stories of the Silk Road, tales of brave merchants, shiny silks, and spices that smelled like magic. He dreamed of seeing those distant lands himself. Kale's family grew the most beautiful mulberry trees. From these trees came the leaves that fed tiny silkworms. These worms spun cocoons of shimmering silk, the softest cloth anyone had ever touched. Kale often helped his mother carefully unwind the silk threads. It was a slow, gentle job, each strand precious. He knew this silk was what the powerful traders wanted, the very thing that made the Silk Road so special. One day, a group of traders arrived in Kale's village. They were different from the local farmers. Their clothes were colorful, their faces tanned by the sun, and their eyes held the wisdom of many journeys. Kale watched them with wide-eyed wonder. Their lead merchant, a kind-faced woman named Alara, had a smile that reached her eyes. She spoke of faraway cities, of deserts with singing sands, and of ice-capped mountains where the wind whispered ancient secrets. Alara was not just a trader, she was a storyteller. She bought their finest silk, promising to take it to lands Kale could only imagine. As she prepared to leave, Kale felt a deep longing in his heart. He wanted to go with her, to see the world beyond his village. He approached Alara, his small hand clutching a tiny, beautifully woven silk pouch his mother had made. He offered it to her, a gift of his village. Alara knelt, her eyes meeting Kale's. She saw the fire in his soul. "Little one," she said softly, "the Silk Road is not for the faint of heart. It is a world of both beauty and great peril." Kale looked up at her, his voice small but firm. "I am not afraid. I want to see the world." Alara smiled, a thoughtful look on her face. She saw something special in him, a spark of courage that reminded her of herself when she was young. She told him that if he truly wanted to learn, he could come with her. He would be her helper, her eyes and ears, but he must be ready for a long, hard journey. Kale's parents were worried, but they knew his spirit could not be kept at home. They packed him a small bag, full of dried fruits, hard bread, and a warm wool blanket. His mother gave him a tiny jade amulet, shaped like a dragon, for protection. "It will keep you safe," she whispered, her eyes shiny with tears. Kale promised he would be brave and return with many stories. The next morning, Kale waved goodbye to his family. He joined Alara and her small group of merchants, their camels laden with goods. The journey began. The first few days were easy. They walked through green fields and past small villages. Kale learned to ride a camel, a bumpy but exciting experience. He listened to Alara's stories, learning about different languages, different foods, and different ways people lived. He practiced simple phrases in new tongues, his young mind soaking it all in. Soon, the landscape changed. The green fields gave way to rolling hills, then to vast, empty plains. The sun beat down, hot and fierce. The air grew dry, and dust swirled around them like tiny dancing ghosts. Kale quickly learned how important water was. Every drop was precious. Alara taught him how to read the clouds for signs of rain, how to find shade during the hottest parts of the day. He helped pitch tents at night, learning to secure them against the strong winds. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery oranges and purples, Alara showed Kale a map. It was not a map like Kale knew, drawn on paper. This map was woven into a silk cloth, intricate and beautiful, showing mountains, rivers, and cities as tiny, colorful symbols. "This is our guide," Alara explained. "It shows the paths we must take, and the dangers we might find." Kale traced the lines with his finger, amazed at the vastness of the world. As they ventured further, the journey became harder. They entered the edge of a great desert, the Taklamakan, known as the Sea of Death by some. The sand stretched endlessly, shifting dunes like giant waves. The wind howled, creating strange, ghostly sounds. Kale sometimes felt scared, but Alara's calm presence always reassured him. She told him that fear was like a shadow, only powerful if you let it swallow your light. One afternoon, a huge sandstorm rose up without warning. The sky turned orange, then dark. Sand filled the air, stinging their skin and eyes. It was hard to breathe, hard to see. Alara quickly ordered everyone to cover their faces and crouch low. Kale huddled close to her, his heart pounding. The world became a swirling chaos of sand and wind. He thought of his village, so far away, so safe. He wondered if he had been foolish to leave. When the storm finally passed, hours later, the world was strangely quiet. Everything was covered in a thick layer of sand. Kale helped dig out their supplies. They had lost some food and water, and one of their camels had wandered off. It was a serious problem. Elara, though worried, remained strong. She knew they had to keep moving, to find the next oasis. Days blurred into weeks. Kale learned to conserve water, to eat sparingly. He grew stronger, his small body adapting to the harsh life. He learned to identify different animal tracks in the sand, to spot distant mirages that shimmered like pools of water but were only tricks of the light. He learned to trust his companions, a diverse group of people from different lands, all united by the path they walked. There was Rashid, a strong, silent man who knew every star in the sky, and Anya, a cheerful woman who always had a song ready to lift their spirits. They finally reached an oasis, a patch of green in the vast desert. Palm trees swayed gently, and a cool, clear spring bubbled from the earth. Kale had never tasted water so sweet, so refreshing. They rested there for several days, letting their animals graze and their bodies recover. Kale explored the oasis, finding colorful birds and small, shy desert creatures. He wrote letters home in his mind, telling his parents about the amazing things he had seen. From the oasis, they continued west. The land slowly changed again, becoming rockier. They passed through narrow mountain passes, where the air grew thin and cold, even under the sun. Kale saw snow-capped peaks in the distance, shining like diamonds. Elara told him about the jade mines in these mountains, where precious green stones were dug from the earth. These stones, too, traveled the Silk Road, becoming beautiful jewelry and statues in faraway lands. One afternoon, as they slowly climbed a winding path, they saw something strange. A small group of horsemen, their faces hidden by scarves, were blocking the way. Kale's heart leaped into his throat. These were bandits. Elara had warned him about them. They were dangerous men who preyed on travelers. Elara immediately told everyone to stay calm and follow her lead. She was an experienced merchant and had faced such threats before. Elara stepped forward, her hands open, showing she carried no weapons. She spoke to the leader in a firm but respectful voice, offering them a small portion of their less valuable goods. The bandit leader, a man with a scarred face, looked at their camels, his eyes greedy. He demanded more. Kale watched, terrified, but also amazed at Elara's bravery. She argued with him, not showing fear, but also not being foolish. Just as the situation seemed to worsen, Rashid, the quiet stargazer, stepped forward. He spoke a few words in a language Kale didn't understand, but it sounded strong and old. The bandit leader hesitated, then looked at Rashid with surprise. It turned out Rashid knew an ancient story, a legend from the bandit leader's own people, that spoke of curses on those who took from honest travelers without cause. The bandit, superstitious, agreed to take only a little, and let them pass. Kale was relieved and deeply impressed. He realized that the Silk Road wasn't just about goods, it was about knowledge, about knowing different cultures, different stories. Rashid's wisdom had saved them. He asked Rashid about the legend that night, and Rashid patiently explained that knowing the stories of people, even your enemies, could be a powerful shield. They continued their journey, crossing high plateaus where wild horses roamed free. Kale saw animals he had never imagined, strong yaks with long fur, quick-footed gazelles, and soaring eagles. He learned to appreciate the vast, empty beauty of the world, a beauty that was both lonely and grand. He felt a deep connection to the earth, to the path they were on. They arrived at Samarkand, a city legendary for its beauty and bustling markets. Kale had never seen so many people, so many different faces. The city walls rose high, decorated with bright blue tiles that shimmered in the sun. The air was filled with the smell of spices, roasting meats, and sweet fruits. Merchants from every corner of the world gathered here, speaking a dozen different languages, trading everything from precious jewels to colorful carpets, from exotic animals to rare herbs. Kale walked through the market, his head spinning. He saw silks from his own village, shining brightly, being admired by people whose clothes and skin were so different from his own. He saw magnificent horses from the steppe, their coats gleaming. He saw finely crafted pottery, delicate glasswork, and rolls of paper inscribed with strange, beautiful writing. Elara showed him how to trade, how to bargain, how to tell if a good was truly valuable. She pointed out the different currencies, the different ways people measured and weighed their goods. It was in Samarkand that Kale truly understood the untold story of the Silk Road. It wasn't just about things being traded. It was about ideas. It was about people meeting, sharing their thoughts, their beliefs, their art. He saw monks from the West sharing stories of their gods with scholars from the East. He heard new music, different from the songs of his village, played on instruments he had never seen. He realized that every piece of silk, every grain of spice, every jewel carried a piece of its home with it, spreading culture and knowledge across the world. Alara spent many days trading in Samarkand. She sold their precious silk for a good price and bought other valuable goods to take further west, fragrant spices, fine glassware, and intricate metalwork. Kale helped her, learning to keep records, to watch for honest deals, and to recognize quality. He was no longer just a boy from a small village, he was a young apprentice, learning the ways of the world. As they prepared to leave Samarkand, Alara told Kale that their journey would take them even further. They would travel through lands where great empires had risen and fallen, where ancient ruins stood as silent witnesses to history. She spoke of Persia, a land of poets and grand palaces, and of the Roman Empire, a place of mighty armies and vast cities. Kale's heart swelled with excitement. He was ready for whatever came next. The next leg of their journey led them through the heart of Persia. They rode past fields of saffron, its delicate purple flowers coloring the land. Kale saw majestic mosques with towering minarets, their domes shining under the sun. The people here were elegant, their clothes rich, their manners refined. He tasted new foods, sweet and savory, and listened to music played on stringed instruments that sounded like sighs and whispers. One evening, they stopped at a caravanserai, a special roadside inn built for travelers on the Silk Road. It was a bustling place, full of life. Merchants from dozens of different regions shared stories and news. Kale sat by a crackling fire, listening to tales of brave warriors, clever scholars, and mythical beasts. He felt like he was part of something huge, something timeless. He looked at the other travelers, their faces illuminated by the firelight, and saw the same dreams, the same hopes, the same weariness in their eyes. In Persia, Alara showed Kale a new kind of treasure, knowledge. She took him to a library, a place filled with scrolls and books. Kale, who had only seen a few written words in his life, was awestruck. The air smelled of old paper and wisdom. Alara explained that these scrolls held the thoughts of great thinkers, stories from long ago, and discoveries about the stars and the human body. This knowledge, she said, was even more precious than gold or silk, for it could change the way people thought and lived. Kale spent hours looking at the beautiful calligraphy, even though he couldn't read most of it. He understood that these libraries were like secret rivers, carrying knowledge across time and space, just like the Silk Road carried goods. He began to see the world not just as a collection of places, but as a giant tapestry woven with stories, ideas, and connections. They traveled on, their path leading them closer to the western seas. The land became greener again, with more rivers and fertile valleys. But with the change in landscape came new challenges. They heard stories of rival empires, of armies clashing, and of trade routes being blocked. The Silk Road was never truly peaceful, Alara explained. It was a dance between cooperation and conflict, a constant struggle to keep the path open. One day, they encountered a group of Roman soldiers. They were stern and imposing, their armor glinting in the sun. Kale had only heard stories of the mighty Roman Empire. Now, he saw its power firsthand. The soldiers questioned Alara about her goods, inspecting them carefully. Kale held his breath, worried they might confiscate their precious cargo. But Alara, with her usual grace and skill, showed them the proper documents and offered a small, respectful gift. The soldiers, satisfied, allowed them to pass. Kale learned that navigating the Silk Road also meant navigating the rules and powers of different empires. It meant understanding who was in charge, and how to deal with them respectfully. It was a lesson in diplomacy, even for a young boy. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached a port city on the Mediterranean Sea. The sight of the vast, sparkling blue water took Kale's breath away. He had never seen so much water. Huge ships, with sails like giant wings, floated on the waves, ready to carry goods across the sea to Europe. The air was salty and cool, a welcome change from the dust of the desert and the chill of the mountains. Alara sold her remaining goods here, making a good profit. Kale watched as merchants from Rome, Greece, and Egypt haggled over prices, their voices loud and lively. He saw the end of the land journey for many of the goods he had helped carry. The silk from his village, the spices from Persia, the jade from the mountains, they would now travel by sea, reaching even more distant lands. One evening, as Kale stood on the docks, watching the sunset paint the sky in fiery colors, Alara joined him. "We have reached the end of this path," Kale, she said, her voice soft. Your journey west is complete. Kale felt a mix of joy and sadness. He had seen so much, learned so much. He was no longer the small, innocent boy who had left his village. He was stronger, wiser, and filled with 1,000 stories. Ilara looked at him, her eyes kind. What do you wish to do now, Kale? You have learned the ways of the Silk Road. You can continue with me, learning more, traveling further. Or you can return home, and share your wisdom with your people. Kale thought for a long moment. He missed his family, his village. He yearned to tell them everything he had seen. But he also felt the pull of the road, the thrill of discovery. He made his decision. I want to go home, Ilara, he said, but not to stay. I want to tell my people what I have seen, and then I want to come back. I want to be a merchant, like you. I want to help connect the world. Ilara smiled, a proud light in her eyes. Then you have truly understood the Silk Road, Kale. It is a journey that never truly ends. Ilara arranged for Kale to join a group of merchants heading east, back towards his homeland. This time, Kale was not a wide-eyed novice. He knew what to expect. He helped the other merchants, sharing his knowledge of the paths, the people, and the tricks of the trade. He was no longer just a passenger. He was a valuable member of the caravan. He often looked at his jade amulet, a reminder of his mother's love, and thought about the promises he would fulfill. The journey back was just as full of adventures, but Kale faced them with new confidence. He shared stories of the western lands with his fellow travelers, just as Ilara had shared stories with him. He learned more about their cultures, their beliefs. He saw the Silk Road not just as a line on a map, but as a living, breathing network of human connection. Finally, after many months, Kale saw the familiar peaks of his homeland in the distance. His heart leaped with joy. He rode into his village, no longer a small boy, but a young man, tanned and strong, with eyes that held the wisdom of many journeys. His family rushed out to meet him, tears of happiness streaming down their faces. He hugged them tightly, feeling the warmth of home. Kale spent days telling his family and his village about his adventures. He spoke of the vast deserts, the towering mountains, the bustling cities, and the kind people he had met. He showed them the small trinkets he had bought, a piece of colorful glass, a unique spice, a scroll with beautiful writing. He explained how their silk was treasured in faraway lands, how it connected them to the rest of the world. He told them the untold story of the Silk Road, that it was more than just a route for goods. It was a path for ideas, for cultures, for friendships. It showed how different people could meet, learn from each other, and grow together. It was a testament to human courage, curiosity, and the endless desire to explore. Kale did not stay home forever. True to his word, after a time, he prepared for his next journey. He became a merchant, just like Ilara, helping to carry the precious silk from his village and bringing back wonders from distant lands. He became a storyteller, too, sharing the lessons and legends of the Silk Road with everyone he met. And with every journey, Kale helped weave a new thread into the great, never-ending tapestry of the Silk Road, connecting the world, one story, one journey, one precious piece of silk at a time. The path continued, alive with the footsteps of countless brave souls, whispering its secrets across time.